So the first thing is call to order. I think the first item is to make sure that we have a quorum, and you confirm that we do have a quorum?
Yes, you do.
Right. Do we have anyone joining us? We have one guest.
Hi.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. You want to come up there or?
That's fine, you can read from there.
Okay, all right. Kanishka Chaudhary, I live in Coppell. And I was texting back and forth with, rather emailing and then texting back and forth with Todd over the weekend. I'm keen to serve with the board next term. I can get into my background. I have some background in building solutions. I figured this is a good place for me to serve. I've served in the Coppell Education Board before. So here I am to listen in and understand what goes on in this room.
Thank you.
So glad to have you here.
Yeah. I believe it's the first guest.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What I would tell you to do is, it'll be, what, late September, early October?
Applications went out
Right now.
today.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, they've already gone out.
Applications went out today, and it's a 6-week, I believe, 6-week application process.
Okay.
And then in September, October,
So
there'll be interviews.
They'll do the interviews.
Yeah.
So yeah, that just giving you the timeline of how I know this works in the city.
Do we have any open slots that we're trying to fill, or
I
do
believe
people
so.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah, we do.
100%.
exactly. So all of you are up for reappointment. So
Okay.
you do have to apply in order to be considered for reappointment. So just FYI, it's not you shuffle into the next term. You do have to actively apply.
And what is the date for the application? Sorry, you just said I wasn't listening.
No, that's okay.
September something.
September 15th. So they started today and then they go till September 15th.
Okay.
And then the interviews will be in October, if I remember correctly.
I'm hoping that they start the last week of September and then go like the third week into October. So yes.
Perfect. Okay.
So how many open positions are there, including the incumbents?
7.
And all 7 are filled right now?
All 7. No.
No, the alternates are not filled right now.
We do not have any alternate seats right now. So they are all regular members.
Understood.
We're supposed to have 7 regular and 2 alternates,
Mm-hmm.
and since some of the regular members left, and then alternates came in, and then the one alternate left, so that's where we are.
Thank you.
All right. So
Motion to approve the minutes
Is that
Second.
from June 7th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Thank you.
Should we move on to the next item then?
I
Sure.
think we should.
Kaylin, are you running? Are we taking turns or?
I thought as someone who wasn't running it had to do that, so that's why I did it. I didn't know if you were like waving.
Well, we don't have our chair or our vice chair,
Or
so
Jared.
We are freestyling here, so.
yeah. So we just run the meeting as we see fit.
So the next item was to review the recommendation for climate action, adaptation, and renewable energy portfolio. So there is an portfolio slide. Can anyone pull that up, please?
I have it pulled up.
Okay.
The portfolio slide,
Okay.
which is
It's a
just
single
the
slide.
same slide that everybody has. It's not anything specific to the
Okay.
review, but I can
Yes.
share it. But I will say that, I think this is, yeah, the right one.
Yep, that's right.
Moshul, if I remember, you and Aaron were going to work on and
Patrick.
share. Oh, you and Patrick?
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're working on the
That's
smart
next.
smart
Connected.
homes, smart business.
Okay. Okay.
So we've got slides on that that
Okay.
we put together. So that'll be later.
So the climate action, I think Aaron and I had worked on,
Right.
and we had shared our findings last time. Was there a follow-up that we had?
Yeah, okay, so I don't wanna get off the agenda here, let me just make sure I'm saying it. There it is, okay. So, review recommendations. So, I have the slide, but you can't see it.
Yeah, it's okay.
So I just sent it to Julian, so we'll see if
Okay,
I did it correctly.
And so, when you, oh.
If y'all want to share, you can do it through that computer there. And
Oh,
it's on
okay,
Zoom.
this won't do this. Okay.
I can set it up real quick if you want.
Uh,
Do you have a
Yeah.
USB stick or something?
no, it's just on, no.
Ashley just sent it to you.
I sent it to you
Okay.
for Teams. looks
Oh,
great.
okay. Yeah, then I can share it. I can share it from
Okay,
the
thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so you'll see in a second, but it's just the slides, the 1 through 6.
Mhm.
Aaron was writing up our recommendations. So last week we talked about them, and I think, according to the agenda, we were supposed to see the written out.
Got it.
And I thought Aaron was gonna send them to Jared, is what I thought was gonna happen.
Mhm.
I took notes, but they're not like the official recommendation, so I don't know that I should bring them up. But I had taken notes about what Aaron, I thought was gonna be rewording.
Mhm.
And I suppose that's what we're supposed to be reviewing here, is like the official recommendations that we made.
Can we move that to next time?
Yeah, I guess,
Because I mean, if we don't have the official one, I
Yeah.
think.
I think.
Yep.
It's nothing new to bring.
Yep, so let's, do we need to raise a motion to move this agenda item to next week?
Yeah, I think you need a motion, you
You can just table it and put it on the next agenda.
just table it and put it on the agenda for next time.
Yes.
What?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the next item, which is the connected home and business portfolio. And so, Patrick, motion?
We can't use this to share?
We won't
No.
share it.
No.
You have to connect
You'd
to
have to
that.
do on that computer back there.
Do you have a
But if
US
you don't have like a USB with it on it, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, can you, do you have my email address?
Yeah.
Are they the smart documents that you sent out today, or?
Oh, it's uploaded in the OneDrive? Or not OneDrive?
Because I got
SharePoint.
those, I got 3 of those today, I can go up here and pull them up if that'll help. Are these the ones that you're with, the Alliance Partners?
Yeah, that's the research paper.
Coppell Smart City Connected
Yeah.
Homes paper, and then
All
there's
this,
another
yeah.
one, Connected Homes and Business,
Right,
there's 2
yeah.
different ones.
So let's start with the notes first.
You go here. and- this is taking long.
It's funny, I'm looking at it right here on
Me too.
my iPad, I'm like, oh, there we go.
I think it's, if you log into your SharePoint, it's available.
Ashley,
Uploaded
can I get my
PDF.
email from here?
Yes, if you log in through office.com.
Okay. It'll take me home, so y'all can talk if you like.
Well, I hadn't realized city council put such big TVs in here.
They are big.
Yeah, I knew there was one there
85 or
before, but I didn't
75.
realize they put that one in over there. That's new.
Good thing I brought my phone with me.
Two-factor authentication.
Yes.
If we log into Zoom, I think we can share a screen, right?
Right, but you have no way to connect to that.
Yeah, but if you
You
screen,
put it in
that
Zoom?
would work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You can do that too.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
Let me go into Zoom in case that's.
Yeah, go in on the Zoom.
Good idea.
Okay.
I forgot about that.
Where's this? Okay, so where's the
Alright.
Zoom meeting?
Actually, how do I pull it up on the screen? Now that I've got it. It's here, it's ready.
So you would open it then.
Oh, we're doing share this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then share your screen. Should I ask? There you go.
She may beat you to it.
Okay.
There you go. You got beat.
Okay. Alright, that will do.
Would you rather share it so you can move through there?
Yes, I think that'll work.
I can stop sharing then. We know it works.
Multiple options.
So, this one. I'll start with this one. This go to presentation mode, right?
Yeah. Should be able to go from there.
No.
So we've had a couple of meetings about this
Okay.
to discuss the different issues behind this.
Alright, so. Okay.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Alright, so, first slide, it's pretty much the portfolio slide. It's, we talked about is the ongoing need for bandwidth and what we have to do to support that ongoing need, right? So, one of the biggest thing for connected home and connected building is all the devices will be IoT connected, AI driven. We identified a lot of different technologies, right? Like we talk about IoT, AI driven, and bandwidth requirement, and that will also increase the privacy and the security concerns. So that's high level. Those are our findings, right? As far as the technology goes, pretty much everybody knows like smart lights, smart switches, garage doors, irrigation system, home controller application hubs, smart doors, cameras, and that will bring the growing need for bandwidth, right? So you want to take some of these? As we
Well, so think about what this is going to mean. If you live in a neighborhood where you have an alley behind your house, all the telecom runs in your alley. Means all the alleys in town have to be dug up to put more bandwidth in.
That is assuming it will be wire-based, right? What if it's wireless?
Correct. Or, and I'll say this, having now moved, I live now walking distance to here. There is not a cell phone tower in this part of town. And so you go, oh, well, I'm gonna go wireless. Great, that's fine if you live on the edges of town where there's all the cell towers. But if you live here near the middle of town, there's no cell towers. So we've got to then figure out, okay, well, how are we going to get that technology in there and make it where it looks pretty? Because of course, this is Coppell, we're going to want it to look pretty. We're not going to want a big cell phone tower in the middle of town. Let alone how much cell phone capacity, cell tower, capacity you're going to have to do that. So, you start thinking about these things, and again, it's that thinking 20 years out. That really changes how you think about where and how you put that technology in there to be able to do this stuff. That's at least my thinking on it.
Whether it'll all be wireless, I get it, jury's out. If we do have to plan for the wired solution, since we are 20 years out, should we be thinking about the city planning to easily add capacity as and when the next 20 years, if they're repaving roads and alleys?
Right.
Okay.
Right. It becomes part of that. It becomes part of the same thing we do, like, when they rebuilt this section of Parkway up here, where they went through and they did the water lines, the sewer lines, the other facilities along it, because if you're going to dig it up, you might as well rebuild everything underneath it in the course of doing it. And I say, I think from the conversations we've had is, that's something the city's got to consider going forward.
Right, so one of the thing, as we are looking into the different challenges that connected homes and the businesses will bring, is one of them is infrastructure, and I think it would be wise for us to put that into the other board. These are our recommendations, these are the challenges, and then they can figure out what initiatives based on, the city city objectives.
The other board being Fort.
Because one of the things that came out, out of all the meetings we have been into is infrastructure is not our responsibilities, right? So,
You mean this board's?
right.
Right.
So we can recommend is based on what we see in the connected home and the businesses, what we have to, what
Fair
are the
enough.
challenges, right?
Fair enough. I think we can say that the cables are probably our responsibility, but the actual infrastructure is that board's responsibility. So this is a joint recommendation to the city saying, hey, when you're repaving the streets, take care of a solution for laying the cables for the future.
Did you,
Well, but remember, those are all done in a franchise agreement.
That
Utilities
seems
are, yes.
very specific, like, that seems though very execution, we don't need to be worried about that, do we? That's not our,
Right.
we just say,
Right.
here's the situation, here's what we recommend you look into, and then someone else
It
deals
becomes
with that.
Right. Jared and Vicky and the
Public
rest
Works.
of the Public Works,
Yeah.
like, reaches out and deals with those things.
Right.
But
Yeah,
it's-
but you're right, it has to do with the actual execution
Of
that
the
becomes the
recommendation.
city's. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, was there indication, I just Googled, I didn't see anything right away, but do we know in 2040, are people thinking it's gonna be more wired than wireless? Like,
It's
I'm sure
gonna be more
technology
wireless.
on both sides is gonna improve, like, do we have a recommendation on which one we think they should focus more on preparing for?
You have to do multiple solutions in this case. Most residents or in different cities, people are opting for wireless solutions, right? So nobody wants a wired solution anymore. But as a city, you have to lay the groundwork for the increased bandwidth requirements. So it will be a combination of wireless and wired technologies. So in some parts of East Coast, I think it was the city of Minnesota or somewhere, they have laid out a fiber ring by the city. I'll look it up. I was there, actually that was 5 years ago. So they were looking into that. That's because the bandwidth requirement for the water meters, electric meter, and gas meter, right? So there is no easy way to connect everything together. So what they're opting in is having a fiber network and put a hub in different parts of the city that as a takeaway point for those 3 meters. So,
Okay.
but again, wireless
Yeah.
technologies are
And you think about it, right now we've done it for the water. We haven't done it for,
We've done what for the water?
we've done the,
We have
The
smart
smart
water
meters?
The smart
Okay,
meters.
Okay,
yeah, we've done smart meters, but we haven't done the other utilities and the rest of it. And the other one here in Texas that makes it hard is the other one to do would be to do it for the electricity. But because everybody gets, I guarantee across all of us, we have different electricity providers. So trying to wire that up and have some technology that tracks that is gonna be really tough.
I thought the utility provider is Encore. The marketing companies are different.
Yes.
Correct.
And I believe my home, the electricity meter is now a smart meter.
Right.
So water is smart and the electricity meter is also smart.
But I think this gets back to that second to the last point there at the bottom,
Plumbers?
plumbers and permits. Right? Which is, as you get a new water heater, as you get a new irrigation system, whatever, how are we gonna monitor that stuff? Because I just went ahead and put a whole new electronic head on my irrigation system that I can control from my smartphone. You know, meaning we can track that part of people's water usage separate from just, you know, depending on what technology they have, separate from their overall water usage, right? Because Vicky, I'm sure you know the biggest issue you know here in town on when someone has a water leak, it's not in the house, it's the irrigation line. Right? It's they got a leak in their sprinklers.
Usually.
Right? And so, you know, having smart technology on that stuff, and then, we don't require permits right now to do irrigation systems. Well, we could. And you've got an irrigation system, and you've got an irrigation system, and you've got an irrigation system, and you've got one, and I got one, and you got one, and
Now, the smart water meter does track how much water you're using overall.
but it
So
doesn't
if-
track which source it's coming
No,
from.
it doesn't specify exactly where it is, but at least it can tell you that you've got a large use of water
Right.
somewhere on your property, whether it be irrigation or a broken pipe in your house. That's, at least right now,
Yeah,
they
right.
can't separate the two yet.
But it's worth considering, and it gets to this issue of, do you change your permit policies going forward? You know, in terms of, as you tell people, okay, fine, you're gonna upgrade your houses, so this gets back to the Ford thing. Maybe this is more of a Ford issue than it is for us. But it says, okay, as you upgrade, the permit policies get more strict.
I mean, yeah. In terms of recommendations, if we think that the city needs to evaluate their permit policy
Yep.
to strongly encourage and incentivize homes and businesses to start
Mhm.
changing, then I think, we make that recommendation. I mean, and
That's
it
a good
seems
way to
like
put it.
that's gonna be necessary to start mandating. I mean, do we think the city needs to mandate connectedness, or do we think it will work itself out and the city doesn't need to change their policies, their permits? Like, is that, you think they need to change the permits so people do it, or just so that people do it correctly? Like, what is the,
They definitely do it correctly.
Well, some places, and this is where, I have a little bit of different opinion, is in some places we want to enforce permits, some type of technology, not all. When it comes to smart homes, this technology, you cannot really regulate anymore, right? I mean, there is technologies coming up every day, and that will mean we are changing our permit policy pretty much every day. So,
Well, and we don't know what that's gonna look like 20 years
Right.
from now.
right, so as a city, we want to put high level regulation on some of the requirements as far as bandwidth, safety and security for other neighbors. I can't just go in and put something in my house that can jeopardize my neighbor's safety and security. So those kind of,
Yeah.
permits or
Yeah.
requirements are needed.
that's fair.
in my opinion.
So, potentially a broad recommendation.
Right, like,
Evaluate city permits as it relates to.
the drone. I mean, that it was at the beginning. That was
You
it's
still
just-
need a license to fly a drone.
right. I mean, before you needed the license, before everybody started getting drone.
You
The
still need a
biggest-
license to fly a drone.
Right. I mean, but it's still, when that first came in, you cannot regulate every
Right.
part of drone, right? I mean,
So to recap, what are we saying here? What is the overall recommendation? That when required, evaluate if the permit process needs to be more strict or more loose? Is that the recommendation?
the recommendation should be is city has to now sit down and think about we will actually provide some recommendation as far as permit goes. There is few things as far as permit goes is when people are getting into this connected home technologies, there's some of the technologies the city has to regulate, right? You know, I don't expect the city to regulate my cell phone, but when it comes to the safety and security of my, neighbors or people around me, is those type of technology the city has to require some sort of permit. It has to meet certain requirements as far as safety, bandwidth, power requirement, or what have you. So,
Well, I could see going forward, you tell people that, okay, fine, you're gonna replace your irrigation system, or you're gonna upgrade your irrigation system. It has to be a smart irrigation system.
And you think, you're suggesting we should discuss, or you're saying, I think that should be a recommendation to the city that they should start, that they should evaluate mandation?
I would recommend it. Because it fits into the water management, the waste management, the overall integration aspects. Because if you think about it, we're hitting a town where the modal house in town is 30 years old. Even Vicky's nodding at me, she knows that's the truth. So guess what? Your irrigation system's gonna have to get upgraded, replaced. I've already replaced 2 irrigation heads in different houses in town, and I put smart things on them that I can control from my phone. I don't think that's much of a request to ask people to do.
I disagree.
Yeah, and I feel like that's related to
I feel like that's a
climate
little
stuff.
1984-ish for me.
What's that?
I just think that's a little too much. I mean, some people don't even have a sprinkler system. Like my neighbor doesn't even have one. So to require someone to, to incur that expense, I'm much more of an incentivization type of person.
Well, and Moshe and I have talked a lot about, like, how do you come up with incentives to get people to do this stuff?
And I think that's kind of what we did with the other thing too. What was
The
the
climate?
name of the climate thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you come up with incentives? And,
Yeah.
and maybe
I mean,
it
like
becomes...
tax breaks or whatever
Luckily,
else.
we don't have to think of how to come up with
Yeah,
incentives.
I mean, I think suggesting an incentivization program for that is one thing. Saying we think you have to have
And
it.
Aaron, I totally agree with you. Because we actually, how much time did we spend talking about incentives when we met? We did, quite a bit. So Aaron, I appreciate you bringing me back to that point, because it was actually something Moshe and I spent a lot of time talking about, and I think it will sit a lot better here in town to talk about what incentives do we give you to do these things.
I just don't see that. I just don't see a council saying you have to do it.
Yeah.
If I may, perhaps we don't have to worry about telling them how to do it. I mean, the elected leaders, they want to win elections, so let them figure that out.
Right.
So I think our job should be to say, hey, here are the scientific reasons why it's important for you to think about.
That's what I want to know. Wait, why are we incentivizing people to do this?
Yeah, like what's the good part about it? Why do we want to do it?
Yeah. I'm not saying people won't. I think
No, let's,
I'm
like,
all on
back up.
board
You're
with
right.
preparing for it to happen, but I'm not necessarily on board recommending that we encourage it to happen. Like, I don't know, what are the benefits?
So water is going to be short in supply as we are.
But we already have that,
2040,
right? We already have the smart water.
The climate side of it, we did already.
Yeah. Like we already have the smart water meters.
Right.
So I think what she's saying is all these other things that we don't have, what are the benefits to the community or to the environment or whatever, to where we say this is good because we want you to incentivize this. I think that's what we need to back up and talk about. Does that make sense? Because you had that list.
Sorry. I was
What were
going
the
to-
other things besides water? Fire, I thought you had on there.
Well,
Go back.
because
Like 2 maybe? Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, this is
I guess I came into this conversation about connected homes and businesses and smart buildings, thinking, yeah, that's an assumption. I agree that in 2040, I'm like on board. That's going to happen. There's going to be more connected homes, more smart buildings. I guess I'm on board that it's an assumption it's going to happen. We should prepare for it. It is surprising to me that we would be, I guess to me it's so assumed. Why would we spend energy trying to get people to do it? Like, it's just coming for all of us. I don't know. I just,
Yeah, you're right. Like trying to talk someone into having a smartphone. Like we're all gonna have them. What?
yeah,
Like
it's like it'll just happen. And
Like
let's
don't
be
have a flip
prepared.
phone, have
Why,
a smartphone.
why rush it?
Right.
I don't know. So if you like came across, it sounds like with water, you have research to say we should be encouraging us to move in a smart city direction, or sorry, a connected homes and businesses direction related to water, which we did, like climate action, adaptation, renewable energy. We kind of did our recommendations there
Right.
and talked about water usage and we talked about smart water stuff, we talked about rain, we talked about educating people. Yeah, I would like to hear more about why we should be influencing people to become smart buildings, like.
Well, I think part of what we may be hearing here is we don't really have all the pillars in the thing that we set up a year ago.
We as a board or we as a city?
We as a board.
Okay.
I don't understand that, Patrick. Can you explain?
I thought we had too many pillars
Okay.
because what you're saying basically is saying, okay, we've already talked about the water, we've already talked about the energy usage and the climate stuff, doing a whole separate thing for
I'm just saying.
houses and businesses
I,
may not
So I
make
think
that much sense.
that's
I
not
think
how I
that-
interpreted
that-
what
No,
you're saying.
thank you, that's not what I said.
That's not-
Okay, then I'm
It's just-
misunderstood.
I want to talk about connected homes and businesses.
Right.
And
Okay.
what we need to do to prepare for that. And it sounds like you're saying we need to influence it so that it happens. I
No,
just don't
actually,
think we do.
No, that's not the recommendation from us. Is
Okay.
when it comes to, so these are the technologies. So we have identified the technologies.
But
that
can you
are
talk
gonna-
more about that? What are the technologies? I don't really understand what. Like I get the
Oh.
smart meter thing because we've already done that, so I understand that. I don't understand the other ones. Like when it says smart, can you go back to it again? Sorry.
This one here.
Yeah. So like smart fire, smart police. Like what does that mean?
Also,
Like
that goes back to all the devices in our home will be connected. They will be IoT enabled. They will be gadget.
But like
right?
for instance, right now my alarm is connected to that.
Right.
So how is this different?
So that's where the police come in. Is do we want to do more with our connected home? That way we can reduce the response time for the police, right?
Like what? Like what devices are we talking about? Like what is there out there that would do that? Like I have a security system now.
Right,
I've
right.
had that since I don't know.
Right. So
Or-
nowadays, a lot of city buildings has acoustic sensors, right?
Oh, what?
Apartment acoustic sensors.
Oh, okay.
So that can detect
like a
you know,
fire.
right?
or-
Any kind of fire. No, the acoustic is not for fire. It's any kind of gunshot, right?
Oh.
So those are the technologies that are coming up
Mhm.
for smart buildings and connected homes as well, right? So
Okay.
can we, as a city or our police department, can we tap into those type of technologies that are people are going to use it, right? And how do we leverage that to
Okay.
improve our
So like sensors or some type of device that senses like fire or gunshot or breaking glass or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
Okay, understood. And that would be connected via Wi-Fi is what we're saying.
Wi-Fi, mostly people are opting in for the Wi-Fi, wireless technologies. Wired technologies are going to be there. It's not going away anytime soon.
Or like carbon monoxide, like all those things.
Mhm.
We could potentially have a sensor, and that makes more sense.
Right, so I have a carbon monoxide sensor,
Yes,
right?
I do too.
But it's not connected. It's just probably 20 years old maybe. I don't even know if it actually works.
So was it like beep or something?
Yeah, it beeps and then I gotta, either
Okay.
evacuate or
So
do
that makes
something,
more
right?
sense then, like having some kind of a device to sense some kind of an emergency and then suggesting that we have some incentive, that makes sense.
Yeah.
To help with response time A and B, people that can't actually make it to whatever, the phone or whatever, to actually call an emergency service to make it up,
I've fallen and I can't get up.
right? I don't know if they can sense that, but I mean, maybe.
But it's
maybe.
it's the 21st century version of
Exactly. So,
Being able to provide.
I think that kind of encapsulates, for me at least, we want to encourage sensors that can sense some kind of emergency and get a faster response time, and that helps citizens, and then give an incentive to do that.
So,
Okay, next.
for my benefit, I'm going to recap what I'm hearing here. So, taking a step back, from 2020 to 2030, forecast is already done in a different plan. We are now trying to predict what might happen from 2030 to 2040. So our job is to say, hey, we think there's an 80% chance this could happen. Therefore, we recommend City Council to do X, Y, and Z. So with that as the backdrop, and what you're saying is we're going to have connected, more and more connected system. There's a potential for private home data, if Mosul is willing to share with the police and fire department. If that happens, then we are saying that the city will now broadcast this to all the neighbors and say, hey, there's a problem in this neighborhood, watch out, or find an alternative driving route. Is that what we are saying? So our recommendation is be prepared for a much more connected system where you might play the choreographer role of data flow.
So this raises one other of the issues that comes up in this. Yes, it could do that, but it raises the other issue, which is privacy and security, right? And that's the other side of this, is if you say, okay, I want the smart connected home that has the gunshot detector and the glass break detector and the rest of it in it, and I want to inform my neighbors that someone's broken into my house and we're going to send out a text message over your neighborhood, that then raises the issue of, well, what about your privacy and your security? And that's the other side of this. I mean, you say, okay, we want smart homes, we want to collect all this data and try and keep you safe in your house. But if we're going to have all that data sitting there, then it raises this other side of it. That you know, and I don't know what the answer. I mean, we've talked a bunch about this, and I don't know what the answer to that is. But that's going to be an issue that, you know, if you go this route and council decides to do something on, you know, data integration from smart homes and smart businesses and the rest, then they're going to have to face that.
And Patrick, I completely get that, and as a data guy, my answer would be, yes, it's a potential minefield.
It is.
City has to resolve, but my crystal ball gazing tells me that there'll be enough people in 2035 that says, hey, I want this facility. If something is happening in the city, I would like a notification. So maybe there's a solution for people that opt in, and then the people, if they don't opt in, they can live there.
And I think very much from the conversations, and I don't remember if it's in this version of the slides, it is.
Well, so I mean, the first version has like all the identified all the technology that are coming.
Right.
People are going to use. And then we identified those challenges that we're talking about here.
And this is one of the big challenges is going to be where and how do you deal with these privacy and security concerns?
Smart mirror. That's terrifying.
Oh, the smart.
Can I please never have that?
Just to address.
That freaked me out. The smart mirror. When I read about it, I was like, no. I'm not.
What kind of stuff does it tell you?
It's a real thing?
Yeah, it's a real thing. You can actually, you will have all your weather data. Like as you're like waking up in the morning, as you come to the mirror, it will have, actually, there's some companies working on it. You're going to have the weather data.
That's not a very smart mirror.
Yeah, that's very smart. That's kind of a dumb mirror.
It's like Google Glass. It's basically what Google Glass does today.
Right.
You have a version of that.
And then that's what
I don't mind that, as long as it doesn't say, hey Aaron, you should go to the gym today. That I'm not okay with.
Maybe it's like, you need to shave already.
It's not like a mirror in the wall.
Yeah,
There's
it looks
no
like you
wall.
have a deficiency in vitamin D today, Aaron. Please no.
I have a couple of questions. I don't know. And at the end of this, if I can
Actually,
take a couple of minutes.
we're, the way city boards work, we're not allowed to take questions outside
Oh
of
no, that's
citizens'
all right.
appearance.
Okay.
Outside of, oh,
Outside of citizens' appearance, we're not allowed to
is
take
that,
any
is this not a
input.
citizen's appearance?
No,
Oh,
No.
More,
it's at the
more
end, I
from curiosity, so that's fine.
I'm just
okay. No,
telling you
and I'm just asking for
how the
clarity.
procedures, the
He's
rules
an
work. Happy to talk to you after.
We were told that in the beginning, so.
No, that's absolutely fine.
If
If it
I
had been an
received
agenda
that,
item, we could have, if we had put an agenda item.
If we had added an agenda item, we could, yes.
Okay, I just
Do that.
wanna remember. Okay,
I just wanted to make a quick comment about the idea of having people opt in. So we already do that with our text messaging and emailing for just getting notifications about weather and things that are going on in the city. We already have an option to do that, so that could just be expanded upon for various types of things that
Yeah,
this would bring up.
I think almost everything in the future might go that
Yes.
route,
Mhm.
because we are getting more polarized, and there's a ton of people who are going to say, I need this technology, and some are going to say, I don't want it.
Yeah, I think that's why I was saying kind of the requiring it thing is
Yeah,
not
no.
okay.
And
Yeah.
I don't think council would ever
I don't
require
think
it
so either.
anyway. I think it would be recommended,
Yeah.
encouraged.
Incentivized, yeah, that's-
Incentivized.
So-
Maybe it might at some point become part of a code that, there's certain things that might become part of code of ordinance,
Right.
possibly, but it have to be pretty,
yeah.
something that's necessary that for everybody rather than just,
So one of the other thing,
and
sorry.
not necessary.
So as you mentioned, how do we educate our residents today about what we're doing with that data? Are we doing anything for, like, we the part about education keeps coming to my mind over and over again, and when it comes to connected homes, connected building, I get it, they probably would not be as concerned, but connected homes, how do we educate all our residents here, like, hey, this is what we're using this data for?
Well, if I remember back when we had the freeze in February, the city turned off what, 1,200 water meters?
Right. They went to the location.
Something like that, because they were
'Cause
broken
they were-
pipes, people had broken pipes.
Had broken pipes and the rest. So I mean, people know they've got smart meters sitting out in front of their homes right now.
Yeah, I think they did communicate about it, like,
When it was possible.
But the other ones of these get tougher because, the city does the water system, the city does the EMS and the fire and the waste management, but we don't do the electricity.
Correct. That's
We're not
a
Denton.
separate entity.
We're not Denton.
Right.
We don't, the city does not do gas either, right?
We don't
So
do
you
that.
doesn't do the gas
No,
either.
it's a,
Yeah.
but to get back to what the city does, if we're talking about collecting data. So we have smart
Right.
cities, and the idea here is the connected homes and buildings produce data, and there's a security risk. That's what we want to advise the city about. What do we
Correct.
think they should do about the security risk that comes from all of us being connected,
That's a great way to put this.
right?
I
like it.
So to the extent, the city is only liable for what they collect and they store.
Yeah.
I mean, the easy route is don't collect anything, don't store anything, but the train has left the station. City is already collecting a ton and storing a ton. So I think our overall recommendation is get more serious and then be on the leading edge of securing the data.
Yeah.
So I think that without us having to tell them, they're going to.
Something in like staffing, we tell them, we should advise like what things we think matter. So they're gonna need like a privacy and data attorney or, I don't know, but like, we don't have to solve the problem, right? We
Right.
just tell
Yeah.
them.
We just make
what-
the recommendation.
Here's what we learned, here's what's coming. You should prioritize staffing concerns.
Securing the
and
data.
Data security.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
maybe-
end.
Do we
Which
have
we
a threat
have
assessment
actually done
policy in the
that a
city?
lot. We have what?
threat assessment policy for the intercity data threat or, you know,
that's a
city-
good idea.
Yes, I don't know if they've done one lately, but I'm pretty sure that they did one a few years ago. I have to check with Jared on it, but they're constantly evaluating the security for the, you know, the computers and
in the city?
networks
Okay.
that we own.
That's an excellent point.
But
I
that's-
mean, how
That's separate,
vulnerable,
that's separate from this.
how
Yeah.
vulnerable is our central water pumping station to a foreign hacking threat?
Right.
I mean, that falls under,
It's very vulnerable.
so that falls under what you're talking about, right?
I work in the smart meter industry, so.
Right, so if we know it's a problem now, it's probably going to be a 10x problem in 2035. So one recommendation is that what you were saying, have a data threat management policy.
Threat
Threat
assessment.
assessment,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we should be on the leading edge of what the tier 1 cities are doing. In most cases, I don't think we would be the first city in the nation to do it.
Yeah.
But as long as we are following New York or Boston or San Francisco, I think we can copy what they're doing, if it makes sense.
And I do, you started talking about education, yeah. I
Right.
mean, like, the idea that, so we have 20 years, they should start thinking about how they are going to educate the late adopters, like, what's going on. I mean, I don't know what the average, maybe I should know, average age of Coppell, you know, but like, what is in 15
You need
years?
that answer.
What are our demographic
Oh.
projections? Because they should be thinking about who's gonna live here then, and like, are they gonna be part of the early adopter people, or are they gonna not be? Because that should change their strategy. And, you know, if we're all, like you said, if we're all connected, then we're fine, we're gonna know all this already.
Right, but
We're gonna have
I
given
mean-
away all of our rights
but, I
already,
mean-
anyway.
You know, but it also depends on what you're willing to invest in. You know, when we think about smart city services, smart homes, and the rest, it's like, what are you willing to invest in on your house? You know, I mean, I just bought a house where literally I have wiring everywhere.
And just,
I have wires for all kinds of things everywhere in the house, none of which I'm going to use. You know, and it's a question of, you know, are you somebody who's lived here for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? You know, or is your house all wired up and you got everything on hardwire? Is it you've gone to Wi-Fi, which raises a whole nother set of security issues? And the rest of it. And so, you know, if you're thinking about collecting this data and the security and the privacy and all the rest of it, those raise really different issues going forward.
so potentially, this is a true question. Would we recommend a city, would we say, we recommend you prepare to stay out of it as much as possible, do everything you can to farm out this work to someone else? Or are we recommending, we think they should do all of this and they should get ready to be doing it all? Do we have a stance?
My point there would be, let the city decide what makes sense. I mean, they can't hire the world's expert in every field, and if it makes sense for them to outsource it to the leading cybersecurity, then so be it. So we should say them it is important that you need to have level 1 security, and you to figure out how you do that, and if it is going to be expensive, figure out how you fund it.
So one other thing, being also in the technology field, threat assessment is done best by outsider.
Yeah, I was gonna, that was.
So that's something.
I meant more of like, you're right. I meant more of like, should we advise that they find a way to get out of the business of collecting and storing data? Do we think it would be smart for them to figure out a way to not do it? Or are we just saying it's gonna happen and here's what you need to do about that? I don't even know if it's possible. Like you said, they're already doing it.
I think that's separate from this pillar.
Okay.
I understand your point, and I work with people in this area where we have these conversations all the time of So you pull it inside, you farm it out, and I've done both in my career and my stuff, where there's sometimes we farm out the data collection and the computing, and there's other times we pull it inside. And it just depends on what the resources are and the rest.
Okay,
I don't know what the right answer to that is, looking up at 2040.
and we'll
Um,
stay out of that one.
I think if we're gonna stick with these pillars, we gotta stick on this pillar.
Right.
And I mean, I think that whole in-source, outsource discussion, Kalen, it's definitely worth having.
Yeah, if security's one of our main things that we're advising about,
Yeah,
then
but I think
on the table.
that cuts across all the pillars.
What are other issues you have on there, on those slides,
So
that we need to talk about?
I wanted to mention that I think a lot of what we talked about, the focus has been on smart home, and a lot of that extends to smart businesses as well.
Well, we haven't really talked about the business side of this stuff yet.
Okay, I was
So I
trying to
think-
get there.
Yeah, I mean, I should have shared these slides earlier. Apologies, I do it later today. So, I mean, you guys can go through, each of these, what connected home, like these are categories of what's coming, networking, media, and what have you. I categorized everything. This is going to be the recommendation part of the slide, not the note slide. You can look at what are the technologies coming on this note slides. But going into connected homes, connected buildings, and technology trends and what have you, but it's going to come down to the technologies and challenges, and what city services has to do when it comes to it. These are number 6 and 7 are the most critical slides at this point, but I wish I had more.
Emotional, which slide is talking about the businesses in Coppell? The smart solutions for the small businesses and large businesses in Coppell. Do you have something here?
So our objective was for connected homes and businesses. No, sorry, connected home and buildings.
Oh, buildings.
So
okay.
not so much of smart businesses
okay.
or
It is in there, but you guys opted to focus on the homes.
right.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
So
So-
not a problem. Let's
Sorry.
brainstorm. Let's brainstorm. I think a lot we talked about individual families apply to businesses as well, small businesses, large businesses. But are there anything related to businesses that we should be putting in here?
so businesses are more as far as the connected building go. It's connected building. That's what we're focusing on, not business so much. So there's categories like IT operation, there's safety, security, energy management, property management, right? So where do we fit in? As a city, we're not responsible for the energy. As a city, we're responsible for providing water and regulating the building permits, right? So when it comes to that, we are involved in that. Like, for city of Coppell, we're only interested in those fields, like safety, security, and the water. So other than that, I don't think any other permit is going to the Ford or some other infrastructure.
One thing I can think of is, let's say we have, let's say DFW Airport is a big business in Coppell, I'm just making it up. We know that they contribute a ton of tax revenue to our city, so it's in our best interest that they are stable. So does it make sense?
The airport's not part of the city.
I'm just giving you an example.
You're talking about the facilities that support the airport part of the city.
Let's take Veridesk, right? Let's say Veridesk has now become a Fortune 100 company, and our tax revenues tied to them. Does it make sense for us to say, hey, we can't target Veridesk, but can you have a policy that says if you're a business here, you should have these data protection measures in place? Is that something that we could tell the city? You're shaking your head, so.
I don't think we're into that like you can't enforce that to a commercial building as far as how they will protect their data. We can educate them,
No.
right?
No, I think you're right. I think it has to tie back to what city services they're providing. One thing you didn't mention was surveillance that I saw on those. That would be the only other thing I could think of.
Surveillance.
Yeah, but I mean, vandalism and that type of stuff is not that prevalent, but just something that I saw on your slide.
Well, but just something to prevent theft and improve security, so that you're not getting as many police calls.
Right. Some type of surveillance. I mean, obviously things will be different by then for sure, but whatever type of new technology they have for surveillance and.
I'm gonna ask, how do I spell surveillance? C-R-V-E-L-I-E-N-C, right? Surveillance, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's
S-U-R.
No, I typed it. No, I typed it.
Right
But
click.
it says it's wrong.
Oh, okay,
Right click
okay.
it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Did I get it right?
Right click it. And then
Okay.
I think it just needs 2 L's.
Ah,
There's 2 L's in surveillance.
Yeah.
No,
It doesn't.
it should have like an option. I don't know why the right click's not working. It's weird.
Because it
Maybe
has an
just
apple.
click on it. Will that give you an option? Well,
it's a combination of Google
it's okay.
Slides and.
I can tell you.
No, it says it's right now. There's no line
Okay,
it's
alright.
okay.
So it auto corrected it. Okay.
now.
But that doesn't matter. So.
So
were
you
just
should
saying
know that
something.
word really well, probably.
But I'm the worst speller in history.
I don't think I've ever had to write that word.
Okay, something that's concerning me about smart cities, I don't want to forget. I don't know if the city can do this, but the more things that are connected, like to computers, the more risky everything becomes. If, of course, security, but like power sources. So not just Wi-Fi bandwidth or wired bandwidth, not just security, but actual power for all this. So if you can't get into your house, you can't use your oven, you can't turn your shower on, like
Yeah.
everything you have is connected to a computer and your power goes down.
Right.
Then I don't know. Is this just like an individual people just have to be smart and like start buying generators? Like, do we think the city has a place in the fact that all their residents will lose access to like their whole entire worlds
So
if
this-
everything's connected?
Yeah, this goes back to what we all experienced. Some of us experienced in February.
Yes.
The
it
grid
does.
problem.
It does.
Which I don't know that Coppell has much to say or
So it's just
about,
like
but
the
I think it's more of a
way
state
that they
issue.
go.
I
Okay,
mean,
okay.
Karen, I think this is more of an infrastructure issue than a smart city issue, correct? I mean,
Sure,
Yeah,
Okay.
electricity.
okay.
Right. So Coppell has a.
But it will increase the demand, so that's something to at
Yeah.
least mention.
The power is really bad in this city.
mhm.
Have you ever worked in an office in Coppell?
My small company is based out of Coppell.
Right. So, all the commercial buildings, the power always fluctuating. So if you happens to be, the smart meter we're working on at that time, it will kind of send us a notification, hey, the voltage is fluctuating, right? So it is like pretty much more than like 5-6 times a day, you'll see the power is fluctuating in Coppell. So the infrastructure, as far as the power infrastructure goes, which is not part of the city infrastructure, it's really bad. So that's one of the things I brought up. Is this something in our board, and I think we're not that. It's probably Ford or infrastructure or some other board has to look into that. Is how do we enforce our influence on core or whoever is providing this grid system around Coppell is.
And other sources of power is not our area, right?
I mean, there's
Solar,
been,
whatever,
We've
wind.
had a little bit of discussion about some of this
Yeah, I think
over the last
I think
year.
if we just put that there's gonna be a higher demand on
For
power and to consider
To
that,
have
I think
that, yeah,
that's
I like
yeah.
that as a recommendation, just
Yeah.
high level.
I mean,
great.
if you ever all dig up the parking lot over here, I tell you put a battery storage facility in it. 'Cause, what else would you do with a municipal parking lot but put a battery storage facility under it? Because
Why not?
why not?
Bat
but-
cave, but
What's that?
a bat cave maybe.
Yeah, Batcave maybe. but I mean, there's just not many places in town you could do that with as you start to redevelop or do anything else.
So this next point, I don't know if it sits as well in the smart home, connected home and business, but I do think that in 2035, people, when they're not going to be going to websites to look up for information, they're going to at least expect a robotic chatbot that they call in and interact to get information or file a complaint or ask for a clarification. So,
But wait, how's this? Sorry.
Like
The pillar-
Alexa or
The
something?
pillar here is
Alexa.
smart cities
Report
The
crime.
pillar is connected homes and
and
businesses.
businesses. So I'm trying to figure out where this is going.
100%. That's why I prefer
No, I
to
agree.
say
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's totally connected. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's I guess it could fall into a couple of areas. It's how we try to fit a square peg in a hole. But I think the trend is going to be there. Today we have Alexa for home. Thank you for saying that. We're going to have Alexa for the city at some point. I think it's a smart city issue. What pillar it falls under, we have.
I think it's under another pillar.
I disagree.
Which
I think
one?
it should
Yeah.
be under this one.
Because the city should be inputting their data into these, wherever we're gonna be getting all of our connected information, the city should be a data input.
Here's the connector, Patrick. So that chatbot AI is only as smart as the data is learning from. And it's learning the data from all this connected homes and businesses. So that becomes the foundation for your smart AI.
And that also connects you to the city, so I think it's directly within
It's
this
like a new
pillar.
city
So-
service potentially.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Like City Alexa, just put that on there.
Right,
We'll
so
remember.
so that's what I'm hearing now.
Yeah.
We should
Okay,
have some sort
Aaron,
of.
I'll give you that one.
Okay. There you
I'll
go.
give you. You just name the city Alexa.
Excellent.
No, we can have a few more debates about what actually to call it.
Right.
Alright, so let me make sure I understand.
Alexa.
Yeah.
The city will
Coppell
have
Alexa.
application or portal, smart portal, whatever you wanna call it, that will tap into the data from all the connected homes.
Yes, the opt-in data, just so that people are not mad. So whatever people are willing to opt in.
If it's a service, then they're opting in.
Exactly. So
But it would function just like an Alexa does. Yeah.
Alexa is a lot more. It actually
Creepy.
listens to you on the background.
Yeah.
So
I know that's why I don't have one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't want that.
I don't have Siri either, but that type of
I like that. A new
situation
way to engage with the city
right. I
will
mean,
be available in 2040.
for sure.
It will be.
yeah.
So get ready, city council.
Like you're not gonna go on the website or call somebody. You're
Yeah.
gonna say, "Coppell Alexa, call the police."
Yeah, yes, yes.
There you go.
Exactly.
You heard it here first.
We did.
Trademark.
But it's not listening in the background,
Well,
because nobody's gonna want that.
Well, but they do. Alexa does do that, and I think it's creepy.
People aren't gonna want
But
the city to listen into the background.
Well, but the kids that are 5 now
they might be
be
used
totally
to it.
comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Totally.
True,
You can brand it with the city logo on top of it.
of course.
You can put the oak tree. You can put
so-
the oak tree on top of it.
I had written down like related to data as a recommendation.
Okay.
So I had staffing, like city computers, like to actually be able to handle all of this and anything about that. Skills of city staff and automation for like this, exactly like what she's saying, call the police. Like they're gonna need new channels to, we're gonna be contacting them in different ways and they're gonna be responding in different ways. And they need to get ready. I don't know what it's gonna look like, but yeah, you're right.
But I
Call the
think
police.
this is more of put the ideas
Yeah.
out there
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that council thinks about it.
I wonder if Alexa does that now.
I bet.
I bet you she
If that-
does.
Yeah. If not Alexa, Siri, anything connected to the
At
phone.
least.
Yeah, so I mean, just bypassing like the
Honestly.
911 and just going to a different, methodology. But yeah,
Yeah.
I bet you
Was
Alexa will
there-
call 911 right now.
Quick time check.
Yep.
So she said we can go as long as we want to, but I don't think we want to.
No, we don't.
So
8 o'clock.
Can always
For
go as long
yourself.
as you want to. I've watched enough city council meetings. I know how long those go.
So in terms of planning for wrapping up at 8 p.m., is that possible? Do you have more stuff to present, Moshe?
Well, I think, we talked about the most critical part is,
And the
And
plan
what
for
else? What else do we have on the agenda?
um,
talk about the next pillar and then talk about next week's agenda. That's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Next month's agenda.
So we.
And I have
Future
a
meetings.
minor, not so minor request when we get to the agenda piece.
Right. Right. So and I think the idea always was if we don't get done in this meeting, we'll continue talking in the next meeting.
I think
Correct.
that's probably fair to do, honestly, at this point, because I see some more stuff on there we probably should talk about.
This is an excellent primer. So next
Yeah.
meeting we can come in with our ideas and
Right.
you
And,
can.
and Wish and I can meet again and do more work on these slides.
And I think I would like to take your notes. If you
Yes,
could share
I
that.
will, I'm happy
Yeah.
to share my notes, yes.
Yeah, I know.
I've
you-
just been.
You're the only person typing here, so.
So
Yeah, I didn't know I needed my computer today.
So we have three more topics for discussion. Item 6 is discuss and select the next portfolio and board leads. Are we there yet? I mean, if we are still going to talk about this next week, so next month, we can decide the next portfolio next month, right?
Yeah, because aren't we gonna then put together the recommendations like we did this past time? So I think we have
Yeah.
like at least 3 more meetings before that. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have decided to move, tackle agenda item number 6 in the next meeting.
Mhm.
Then item 7 is discussion regarding agenda for next meeting. So the agenda will be continued this.
So I think we,
Well, we put the recommendations
Yeah.
on.
yeah, I
next
think we
week.
finalize this
Next
Right.
month.
so that it can go to city council.
What?
What's the agenda item
So,
for the meeting? Finalize this,
Finalize what, yeah.
our
right.
recommendations.
Our recommendation
No,
on
we
this.
still need to finalize our recommendations from the last pillar though.
Well,
Yeah.
We
that
moved
as
that.
well, we do need to do that.
so we need to
Which-
finalize the
Climate action.
Yeah.
climate action.
Recommendations and then I think finish the pillar actual discussion and
Right.
then we can do the recommendations that on the next one.
Yep.
No, I think, yeah, that sounds
So
like a
then
good
do we
division of
have,
labor.
next meeting we'll review the, somewhat of final version and then whatever changes comes.
Subsequent meetings will
Finalize
document
on that.
Right.
Yeah,
it. All right.
and then that can go to, that one can go to city council. At that
Well,
point,
the
it'll be,
last one hasn't even gone to
Yeah,
city council
we're
yet.
not,
oh, we haven't even taken
we
anything.
had,
so-
what Jared had said,
Didn't he say he wants to do it all at one time?
yeah, and like
With
he
all
had
the
a date, it was like, there's a date, a meeting, something, some date, October, November, I don't remember, and the idea was like, whatever we have done by then, we'll go
We'll go
with.
then.
And see how it
Okay.
goes, and like that way we can just keep moving.
So
and
he wants to
not-
do it after the budget cycle?
In preparation,
For
Well,
the
no,
budget.
but it
Well,
would be
yeah.
after, because council's in the middle of doing budget right
Well,
now.
they vote next week.
yeah.
Right,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it,
Which is
it
all-
has to be
For the
voted
next
on
one.
2 or 3 times.
Just once. It's voted on next week.
Okay,
We've already done all the workshops, all the discussions.
okay,
So, August 10th is the vote.
okay. So
And there was a
But
reason he
he's
wanted
probably-
it then,
He
I
wants to
don't
make
remember what it
sure,
was.
I
Yeah.
think he wants to make sure that you get to council before
Yes,
January, because the budget cycle starts in January,
Yes,
February.
yeah,
Right.
that's exactly what he
Right.
said.
Right,
That's
okay,
Okay.
okay, that's my recollection, okay.
All right. So the last topic for today's agenda is to discuss the future meeting date.
So here, I have one issue that starts to come up, which is I don't get to set when I teach at the university. And I have to teach on Mondays from 4 to 6:45. Every Monday, starting basically the middle of August. And that's gonna go all the way through December, through late November, early December. And I gotta do it over in Richardson, we're back in person, we're teaching at the university and the rest. So my one question was, can we consider moving what day of the week this meeting is?
Well, our meeting next month will be moved anyway, because it's on Labor Day, so.
Ah, good, thank you, Erin.
So then maybe since when we have more people, you can talk about moving it after that. Can we put it on the agenda for next time?
Right, but I can't, our meeting next month will be moved to the Monday after.
Well,
Can't we just do it the
discuss moving it?
Tuesday
Yeah.
or
I
whatever?
know.
Yeah.
Do we have the ability to pick a new day?
So your bylaws require a vote. That would be changing your bylaws.
To pick a new day?
When's it supposed to
The
be?
bylaws specify the day of the meeting?
I believe so, yes.
When is it supposed to be? It's on holiday, the next week?
Yeah,
the
the next regular Monday.
It should be the next regular Monday.
Okay,
Well, then we're just gonna have to put it on the agenda and then vote then.
We'll have to put it on the
We have a-
agenda, and I may be able to, I'll probably have to call in.
Right. Or we can tell them what your issue is.
You can
Right.
zoom- you can zoom in and they.
I can, right, but I can zoom in only for basically the last half of the meeting.
Well, we can put it at the end.
Okay.
it's a really good point because we do have a challenge getting quorum, I'll say. So like, one Patrick down, we might not be able to start the meeting.
Yeah.
What do we have to do to change the bylaws?
Do what?
What do we have to have to change the bylaws?
You just have to present a change, a proposal, and then you all have to vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we-
Change within this board.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Like in advance, like we have to put in an
We have to
agenda
put
item
an
that we're gonna
agenda.
bring it up?
Yeah, so it would be like if we wanted to change to the third Monday of the month instead of the first
Or
Monday.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Well,
Exactly, just for.
but my point is I can't do any Mondays.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yes.
Yes.
What about if we're not gonna be able to talk about this again until next meeting, which again, I'm concerned we'll not have a quorum. If you don't show up till 6:50,
Right.
we won't be starting until 6:50.
Oh, I can't be here at 6:50.
Well,
I'm
but
saying-
if Todd and Aaron are here, we will.
Can I recommend you start at 7?
I mean, that's what I was gonna ask, like, should we do a
They
later
don't
time
have-
for
that's
one
not-
meeting?
That's not in the bylaws,
That's
yeah.
So you could start at 7.
I don't know if we should.
I think we don't have a choice, we may have to do that. But since we are here informally, is Tuesday, is Tuesday a big problem?
I can't do Tuesdays either.
Oh, man.
I teach 2 graduate courses. One is on Monday, the other is on Tuesday. They both start at 4. They go till 6:45.
Alright, so what days work for you?
Any days but Monday and Tuesday.
Okay. Alright, so Wednesday, will Wednesday work for everyone? No.
We'd have to vote on it.
I don't know.
We're just
And we don't have
getting
the-
ahead
so
of the.
can-
Yeah, I feel like we're ahead of ourselves. And it's not on the agenda, so are
Well,
we?
we'll discuss future
I
meeting
just,
dates.
well, no, it is on the agenda because
It
it's
is.
about when our next meeting is.
It is.
Right, but the next meeting has to be this Monday following the scheduled meeting
Correct,
per the
We're just trying
bylaws.
to
Correct,
figure out
I
what day
agree.
to consider proposing.
Right, but I don't know if we're allowed to do that, that's my
Yeah.
point.
I
We're
just,
trying to
I'm
figure
sorry,
it
I
out. I
have,
think
I
it's
have
fine.
such a weird work
Even if
schedule.
it's not on the agenda.
What comes first?
It's on the
Oh.
agenda because you're
Yeah.
regarding
Future meeting dates.
Dates.
We're talking about that.
Yes.
More than-
Yeah.
So, we can put it off. I mean, we regularly cancel our meetings, I'm just gonna say. Like,
Yeah,
we do have a quorum thing, so,
Right, and that's why I appreciate what you're saying. Patrick always shows up.
yes,
So to lose him would be,
a risk.
I really don't want to resign.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate everyone's,
We send out a doodle poll or something to see what's the best.
you
way
know
to
what,
do it.
That's a good
Vicki, I
idea.
would appreciate that. That would be great for us to do and see if we can come up with another time.
so
That's
for.
great.
And I know everybody's got their own lives and kids and the rest of it. I live in this weird world where decisions about how my time is spent working were made over a year ago.
So for
But
next
for
meeting.
next week, it'll have to be the 13th, and we wanna start
Next
at
month.
7.
Seven.
Sorry, why do I keep saying?
You keep saying week.
I know.
You live in weeks.
I live in days, actually. I don't
You
even know
live
what
in
it
days
is.
and weeks.
I do.
I live in months.
It's true. Okay, so then the next time is the 13th,
Yep.
and
September 13th, yes?
Yes.
September
Yeah.
13th, 7 PM.
7, oh, okay.
Are y'all good with that?
Yes.
I mean,
probably
if we
I'll
start
probably
at
be
7
late.
though, my only problem with that is we end at 9, and that's.
Oh, I was gonna say, we'll have to shorten. I don't think we should go later. I think we should start later and have a shorter meeting.
Yes.
I just don't know, I mean, is that practical? Because I feel like we shortened it to, I mean, we didn't talk too long today, and it was still an hour and a half.
So I think we will have only two agenda, or we're gonna
And I-
finalize the other.
And you and I should meet again to go over this
Right.
and refine this so it gets
I
to
will
where
say
it's done.
the first agenda item, like literally Aaron already has them written out. Like, we wrote them as a
Okay.
group and he was just gonna like tweak them, I thought,
Okay.
and send them to Jared.
And if not, I have them typed out too, and
So
so
do
do
I.
you, so.
So I don't think that's gonna be like 5 minutes. Read them
Okay.
out. Do we all agree?
Move on.
Yeah, so I think shorter meeting maybe.
Yeah, I think
Something
we
we
can
can
do
go
a
for
quick
next
meeting.
one.
Yeah.
and we'll pick then a
Pick
time that
the
works
next,
better.
pick the, yeah, okay. I
Why don't we
appreciate
say
every-
6:45?
6:45.
6:45.
I have to teach till 6:40.
No, we know you'll be late.
Okay,
We understand.
all right.
Can you be on by 7? On Zoom?
Yes, I can be on Zoom by 7.
Then we'll start at 6:45. Maybe we can get the recommendation thing knocked out if we have quorum, and then
Yep.
pick up. with
All right.
the next
Hopefully
bill.
we, yeah.
So I have a question before you end. Ashley, Jared mentioned that you wanted to talk about alternating terms.
Alternating terms? Yes. So, with this upcoming boards and commissions application process, when you all were appointed to the board, we did not, stagger your appointments. And so that is why all of you are up for reappointment for this, coming term. So when we do, when appointments are made this term, and if you happen to be reappointed, we will make sure to either stagger you 1 year or 2-year term. So you will be notified when the appointment is made what your term is. Whether it's a year or 2 years, or if council decides to do a 2 or a 3. So it is at the discretion of council. But we will be making sure that you don't all roll off at the same time, that you will be staggered. And like we talked about earlier, the process for applications is open. And so I sent out an email today, but not sure if everybody received it, but you can go to coppelltx.gov/boards to apply. Okay?
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Alright, we are done, so.
Move,
more
no,
motion.
no,
I have a motion.
Move to adjourn.
He was getting
Oh,
there.
do that.
I saw it coming.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to move to adjourn, is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Second,
Third.
fourth.
All in favor?
All in favor?
All right, we're done.
You opposed?
Thank you, and then
Really good job.